when Willow was about to marry me. I discovered a diary she wrote when she was 16. She wrote, "Being pursued by this idiot is really disgusting. Does he think that just because I accepted his gift, it means I like him? How shameless." I was utterly shocked. I had thought that her agreeing to my pursuit was a mutual affection, leading to a happy ending. But in the end, it was all just a lie. Chapter 1. The summer night had a hint of coolness. Willow didn't say a word when she stepped into the house. I took off my coat and sat down beside her. Mrs. Lu handed me a cup of tea, signaling for me to relax. She turned to Willow and said, "You and George have been together for 7 years. If you don't want to marry him, just break up with him already. The house is bought, the furniture is all in place, and you've been silent for so long. Do you want to get married or not? George not urging you is because he's patient, not an excuse for your selfishness." Mrs. Lu's face turned red with anger. She paused for a moment and continued, "Why aren't you speaking?" I quickly reassured her. "It's fine, Mrs. Lu. Really, there's no rush." She sighed and turned her head. "How can it be no rush? This girl is stringing you along, and it's just too much. I really don't understand. What is she trying to do?" Willow, fidgeting with her nails, kept a cold expression throughout, only lifting her head in defiance after Mrs. Lu finished speaking and said, "Fine, I'll marry him. You can arrange it however you want." She stood up, stomped up the stairs in her high heels, and didn't even glance at me once. My heart tightened, and I lowered my head to say a few words to Mrs. Lu before quickly running upstairs after her. From the bathroom, the sound of water running echoed. Willow was taking a shower. I sat on the bed, absent-mindedly staring at the floor. I tried to keep my tone calm as I asked, "Do you not want to get married?" The sound of water was too loud. She didn't hear me. Turning off the water, she opened the door, wrapped in a bathrobe. She asked, "What did you say?" Her hair was damp, and she hadn't even had time to dry off. Water droplets slid from her bright, almond-shaped eyes down to her collarbones. I felt a little awkward and didn't know what to say. She said, "Close your eyes." With a cold snort, she grabbed some clothes from the chair. I nodded without looking at her. It wasn't until she handed me the hairdryer and said, "Get dressed. You can open your eyes now," that I slowly opened my eyes. She was fully dressed, sitting beside me, asking, "What do you want to say?" I sighed and, while drying her hair, said, "Do you not want to get married?" She shook her head. "No, that's not it. Don't think that." But I knew she was lying. She didn't want to marry me at all. I wanted to suggest that we postpone the wedding or say I wasn't in a hurry, but the words got stuck in my throat, and I couldn't say them. The only sound left in the room was the hum of the hairdryer. After a while, I touched her dry hair, stood up, and said, "I'll go to bed now." She grabbed my hand and pouted. "Are you going to sleep in a separate room?" She asked. "Are you upset?" I forced a smile and said, "No, not at all." She bit her lip and said, "I've given myself to you, done everything for you. What more do you want from me?" Willow suddenly became agitated, her tone rising in frustration. She yelled, "If you keep pressuring me like this, it will just make me feel disgusted." We had been together for 7 years, and she had never spoken to me like this. But now, perhaps the pressure of the impending wedding had taken its toll, and for the first time, she lost control in front of me. I froze, feeling for a moment like a fool. She didn't look at me again, opened the door, and left. Only the faint scent of her shower lingered in the air, reminding me of what had just happened. After that night, neither Willow nor I mentioned what had happened. We didn't talk about postponing the wedding, but she became increasingly distant. Even when it came to picking a wedding dress, she said any dress would do. It even came to the point where, on Mrs. Lu's birthday, she didn't show up at all. Everyone laughed it off, but we both knew it was because Willow was angry with her mother. I ignored the strange feeling in my heart and pretended nothing had happened, trying to practice my smile. A few weeks later, I woke up to find her staring at her phone. I asked, "Why aren't you sleeping?" As I tried to sit up, she hurriedly locked her phone. She closed her eyes and said, "I'm going to sleep now." But in that instant, I clearly saw the photo on her screen and the tears at the corners of her eyes. It was a picture of 17-year-old Willow and 17-year-old Makoto. I turned my back, as if I had fallen into an ice cave. What came to my mind was years ago when her best friend had said with disdain, "Even if you're together now, so what? You're nowhere near Makoto. Just a fat loser." What had I thought back then? I thought, as long as I was persistent, I would eventually melt Willow's frozen heart. But now, the naked truth was staring me in the face. My heart felt like it had been pierced by a needle. She had never forgotten Makoto. The facade of strength she had put on over these past days crumbled in an instant. I suddenly didn't want to get married anymore. I wanted to break up with Willow. Chapter 2. After making the decision, I thought about when would be the right time to tell them. From high school until now, Mrs. Lu had always been very kind to me. I could tell that she genuinely cared about me, and really treated me like a son. Because of this, I was torn about how to tell them in a way that would cause the least pain. the day Willow was supposed to try on wedding dresses. I delayed it, citing work at the company as the reason. After graduating from college, I joined a media company, where I was responsible for celebrity planning and marketing. Willow wasn't very happy about my job because it often required long hours, and sometimes I had to wake up at 2 in the morning for meetings. So when I said I was busy, she didn't doubt me at all. In fact, it seemed like she even sighed in relief, except for Mrs. Liu, who assumed that Willow was being unreasonable and throwing a tantrum by refusing to try on the dress. She scolded her for it. When I got home, Mrs. Liu had just gotten off the phone, and her eyes seemed a bit red. She grabbed her bag and said, "George, wait for me. I'm going to find her right now." What could be more important than trying on a wedding dress when she's about to get married? She must be out of her mind. From Mrs. Liu's words, I understood. Makoto had returned. No wonder Willow had been distracted lately, and no wonder she seemed relieved when I couldn't take her to try on wedding dresses. It all made sense. When people are so speechless, they really do end up laughing. Mrs. Liu hurried to advise, "Willow's just in a bad mood these days. She'll be fine soon." "I'll go," I interrupted. "Mrs. Liu, let us decide for ourselves. I'll take care of it." I went upstairs, stood there absent-mindedly for a while, and tried to take out my phone from my pocket, but I didn't hold it properly, and it fell to the ground. I bent down to pick it up, then, in a daze, sat at the foot of the bed and called her. The phone rang a few times before being answered. The sound on the other end was loud, making it hard to hear clearly. She asked, "Is something wrong?" I asked, "Where are you?" There was a brief silence. Then she coldly snorted, "What do you mean by asking that? Are you suspicious of me?" She moved to a quieter place and said, "George, are you annoying? First my mom scolds me, and now you want to do the same. I already said I would marry you. What more do you want from me?" I repeated. "Where exactly are you?" My fingers dug into my palm, trying hard to keep my emotions in check. She replied, 13 de Jew Street. If you want to come, then come, and bring the paper bag from my nightstand." Then, the phone disconnected with a beep. I stared at the ceiling for a long time before managing to control my anger. I never go through Willow's things because I believe that in a marriage, there should still be some personal privacy. But when I opened the nightstand, I spotted the paper bag right away. I was about to grab it when my eyes were drawn to the diary next to it. There are moments when you just know. It was like back in school, when the teacher would call your name, and you'd know in advance that you were in for trouble. It felt like that now. I knew I shouldn't open it, but my gaze was caught. When I opened the diary, I couldn't help but hold my breath. The first entry read, August 29, 2015. "A new person came to the house today. My parents said he's into sports, and he's going to live with us. He always smells of sweat, which is really annoying. I remember it was a hot day when I brought all my things to the Liu family's house. My parents and Mrs. Liu were good friends. That year, I joined the provincial team, and they helped me transfer schools for easier training. When I arrived at the Liu's, Willow was the first to answer the door. She was wearing a clean white dress, her gentle features radiating a calm elegance. She smiled at me, led me into the room, then turned and asked, "I'm Willow. What's your name?" "George." She nodded and handed me a bag of snacks, saying, "These are from me and my mom. If you need anything, just let us know. We're here to help." She was so kind and cute back then. As I stood there, awkward and shy, watching her smile, it felt like a soft seed had been planted in my heart. I never imagined that this was how she saw me at the time. Another entry read, November 5, 2015. "I always felt like his gaze on me was strange. Could it be that he really likes me? He even gave me a birthday gift, a wooden cat carving he made himself. Maria asked for it, so I gave it to her." I felt a shiver down my spine. January 3, 2016. "I hate how they joke about us." March 7, 2016. "He really confessed to me. How embarrassing. Does he really think he's the male protagonist in some novel? How long until he moves out?" My hand trembled as I turned the pages of the diary. When I first arrived in Beijing, I had no friends. There was no one at school who wanted to hang out with me except for a few fellow athletes. Most of the time, I was alone, but Willow would often come to find me. She would introduce me to others as her brother, listen to my troubles when I was upset, and bandage my wounds when I was hurt. It was completely normal to like Willow. So even when I realized she didn't love me, even when I decided to part ways with her, I never regretted having liked her when I was younger. When I was a teenager, I didn't have much money, so I tried to make a cat carving with the little skills I had learned from others. I spent weeks on it, ruined several blocks of wood, and got a lot of cuts on my fingers before finally finishing it. When I gave it to her at the party, all eyes turned to me. I felt embarrassed and was about to take it back, but Willow already took it and placed it back in the gift box. She said, "Thank you, I really like it." I thought she really liked it. So even when her friend Maria mocked me for being a loser, I didn't mind. I never cared about what others thought of me. My dad once said that your mood should only be shared with the people who matter most to you. Willow liked it. That was all that mattered to me. But I never knew that she had passed the gift to Maria, who threw it into the trash the moment she left the door. I never understood where Maria's hostility toward me came from until later, when I realized it was simply because I rejected her little social circle and refused to play along with her. I had no idea back then. I thought Willow was different from everyone else. When I confessed, I stuttered, unable to finish a single sentence, but she smiled brightly. She said, "Thank you for your feelings, but I'm not thinking of dating anyone right now." What was she thinking back then? I gritted my teeth, forcing myself to keep reading. April 9th, 2016. He seems to have misunderstood me. He can't seriously think that just because I accepted his gift, I would like him. Right. I can't even stand the sight of him. I decided to find a boyfriend so he would give up. I couldn't help but laugh. For the first time, I realized how laughable my emotions were. How cheap. How insignificant. She could have just told me. If she had, I wouldn't have gone near her. I saved every penny of my allowance to buy her things she wanted. Why? On the one hand, would she hint at wanting things she couldn't afford, yet happily accept my gifts, while on the other hand, write down things like this? The last entry was on May 13th. That day, Willow was stopped by some thugs, and there was a confrontation. I rushed to protect her and ended up getting injured when I was hit by a baton. I couldn't train for weightlifting anymore. After that, Willow and Makoto broke up. Not long after, Makoto went abroad to study, and they completely lost contact. Chapter 3. After entering university, I began to lose weight and change my image. The once little black, chubby guy had completely disappeared. It was during this time that my relationship with Willow truly began to change. Maybe it was because she remembered my kindness, or maybe it was the ambiguous lighting that night. She suddenly poked my arm, looked up at me, and asked, "Do you still like me?" I froze for a moment, and the next second, she stood on tiptoe, wrapped her arms around my neck, and kissed me. On the first day we confirmed our relationship, Willow and I told Lou Mama. Willow said, "Mom, we're together." At that moment, she seemed more at ease than ever, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from her heart. Looking back now, I realized that what I thought was her genuine love was actually just her self-righteous way of repaying me. I snapped back to reality, grabbed my things, and left. When I arrived at the location, I saw Willow through the door, sitting with Maria and several other men, drinking and singing. Willow waved her hand to refuse one man's request to sing, while Maria, as usual, stirred the pot, saying, "Willow, relax. Now that Makoto is back, why don't you break up with George? You didn't really fall for him, did you?" I still remember the first time I saw him. He was so dark and fat, such a fool, handing you that ugly wooden sculpture. It nearly made me gag. Willow replied, "Are you annoying?" She put down the microphone, about to say something, when the door suddenly opened from the outside. Everyone in the room froze. Willow looked slightly flustered for a moment, but seeing me standing there as usual, she calmed down. I handed her the paper bag and said, "Here's what you asked for." "Thank you." She paused, about to explain something. When she saw the diary in my hand, I asked, "Was it fun?" I couldn't control my emotions, and I snapped, "Was it fun, Willow?" I slammed the diary on the floor. She remained still, her eyes filled with panic. She seemed to want to grab my arm but was quickly avoided. Maria stepped forward and shoved me, saying, "Are you crazy?" The sound of a slap echoed as I struck Maria across the face. I angrily scolded her. "Who do you think you are? I'm talking to her. What are you interrupting for? I've put up with you for so long, you nasty bitch. For years you've been talking behind my back, calling me fat, a loser, and self-important. I've heard enough of that crap. So what if I'm a weightlifter? Is it so shameful that I gained weight for my profession? Who the hell do you think you are to look down on me? My parents have never criticized my weight or appearance. What are you, then? Go look in the mirror and stop pretending to be some socialite. You're just a little thug." Willow's shadow. "The thing I find the most disgusting is how you've clung to me like a damn leech for all these years. If you didn't know better, you'd think I dug up your family's tomb." My eyes were bloodshot with rage. Maria stood frozen, looking hurt but not saying a word. Willow grabbed my arm and said, "George, calm down." I shoved her away and gritted my teeth. "I've been calm enough." I picked up the diary from the floor and opened it, showing it to her. The more I read, the paler Willow's face became. She muttered, "Let me explain." "Explain what?" "Break up." I laughed, my gaze full of venom. "Honestly, just thinking about it makes me sick." I turned without looking back and walked out. Willow tried to chase after me but I stopped her. I asked, "Are you chasing me because you want to marry me?" She stood frozen in place, not moving. She watched me walk away, step by step, until I was completely out of her sight. Chapter 4. After confronting Willow, for the next several days, she avoided me. Everyone at home could sense that something was wrong, but no one dared to ask. The first person I told was my mom, and when she heard, there was no surprise. She asked, "Do you want to come home?" I replied, "I need to think about it some more. I haven't told Mrs. Liu about the breakup yet." No matter what happened between Willow and me, Mrs. Liu had always treated me well. I didn't want to disappoint her. Besides, This job wasn't something I could just throw away overnight. Starting from scratch would take time. After hanging up, I stared at my reflection in the mirror for a long time. Maybe it was because of my job, but I had become more deliberate about maintaining my appearance. Gradually, I had transformed. I looked at myself in the mirror, and it felt like I was seeing the old me again, holding the barbell, squatting down, day after day of training. In the end, that person became more and more distant, replaced by the person I had become, someone who carefully controlled my body fat percentage and paid attention to my image. I had changed, but it wasn't the success I had imagined. I missed the version of myself who sweated freely for the future, caring only about ability and not appearance. Life's decisions often come down to a single thought. That evening, I made a big meal. I didn't want to be like Willow, someone who dragged their feet and left things unresolved. I knew I had to be the one to end things. Otherwise, Mrs. Liu would never let it go. After finishing the meal, I spoke up. I've broken up with Willow. Before she could say anything, I added, I'm the one who ended it. Mrs. Liu's eyes immediately filled with tears. I served her a bowl of rice and softly comforted her. I know Mrs. Liu sees me as her own son, but when it comes to relationships, we can't force things. Honestly, I don't have feelings for Willow anymore. I'm planning to quit my job. I've already submitted my resignation letter. Once I finish the handover, I'll be going back home. Mrs. Liu, I smiled at her. If you miss me, you can come visit. Mrs. Liu didn't say anything. She just cried nonstop. After a long while, she finally choked out, it's Willow. That girl is too willful. If I had known, sorry. I comforted her for a long time, until she finally accepted the reality. Willow didn't find out I was leaving until half a month later. On the last day of my work handover, I had booked a flight for 10 a.m. the next day to return home. She knocked on my door, her voice trembling. Can we talk for a bit? Time really does help fade many emotions, and my feelings had shifted from initial anger to a deeper sense of indifference. I forced a smile and said, there's nothing left to talk about. Don't worry, we'll part on good terms. As for Mrs. Liu, I won't say anything more to her. She won't pressure you anymore, she replied. That's not what I meant. I opened the door. Willow met my gaze, a look of melancholy on her face. She seemed to have not slept well for some time, her exhaustion showing clearly. She asked, what time is your flight tomorrow? Can I come with you? Up to you. With that, I shut the door. The next day, Willow and I went to the airport together. I agreed because, well, it would be the last time. Even for Mrs. Liu's sake, I didn't want things to get too awkward. After getting out of the car, I grabbed my luggage and was about to leave. She instinctively grabbed the handle. We tugged at it for a while, and I lost patience, my eyes cold. She lowered her gaze in guilt and slowly released her grip. She said, don't forget to keep in touch. I scoffed and walked away without looking back. Before boarding the plane, the first thing I did was block Willow's number. Cutting ties completely was the best outcome for us. Chapter 5. After returning home, the first thing I did was sleep for 3 days and nights straight. My hometown is nothing like the big city. Its pace is always slow, so slow. After the wedding was called off, no one from my relatives asked too many questions. They just kept telling me to go out and take a walk when I had nothing to do. A few weeks later, my relatives started pushing for blind dates. My mom, amused and helpless, talked them out of it after some effort. Over the years, I had saved up quite a bit of money, around $300,000 in total. I put most of it in long-term savings, with a small portion invested. One of my high school classmates, David, was planning to start a social media business. When he heard I was back, he insisted on bringing me on board. His idea was to create a street interview show. To put it simply, he said, we'll randomly interview strangers. If they want to make friends, they can write down their traits on a piece of paper, and we'll pass it on to the next person. If they feel it's a match, we'll arrange a meeting. I had already been thinking about what to do next, so when I heard David's idea, it clicked. I transferred $50,000 as startup capital for our business. David was ecstatic. We're going to make it big. I just know it. I felt a bit helpless but also excited. Maybe it was because a new life was right in front of me. Whether it succeeded or failed, I was thrilled by the new scenery and possibilities that awaited me. After preparing to start our social media venture, we began planning the first shoot. Our first location was the University District, where we randomly grabbed a few passers-by, but the response was lukewarm. So, we decided to try filming at a primary school. This time, it went much smoother. There's always less tension when working with younger kids. After the shoot, we planned to grab a bite. Suddenly, David tapped me on the shoulder. There's a pretty girl over there. Not far from us, under the shade of a tree, stood a girl in a white dress. She had a slender figure and a fresh, innocent look. It seemed like she had been watching us for a while. She walked over and, with slightly flushed cheeks, asked, "Hey, is this a social platform?" She handed me her phone and asked, "Can I get to know you?" Just as she spoke, My phone dinged with a new message. It was from an unfamiliar number. The message contained a photo of Willow and Makoto holding hands. The text read, "They're together now." Without a doubt, I knew who it was from. A surge of anger rose within me. I quickly replied, "Want another slap?" After sending the message, I blocked Maria's number. David noticed my sudden shift in mood and quietly asked, "What's wrong?" I replied, "Nothing. Just ran into an idiot." As soon as the words left my mouth, I looked up at the girl in front of me and quickly added, "I'm not talking about you." The girl wasn't offended. She smiled softly and said, "I know." She handed me her phone again and said, "My name's Anna." Chapter 6. After exchanging contact information, I returned home and learned, through my mom's hesitant words, that my meeting with Anna wasn't coincidental. We were actually middle school classmates. I dug through my box of old school memorabilia and found the graduation photo. After a few attempts, I finally recognized the small, skinny girl in the corner of the photo as the one standing before me today. To be honest, I had no memory of her at all. My mom said, "You see, her name is Anna. She might have had a crush on you back then. After all these years, you two meet again. It's like fate, sparking something between you two." I was speechless. One of life's greatest illusions is thinking, "She likes me." I made that mistake with Willow once, and I'm not about to fall into the same trap twice. I opened Anna's profile and sent her a message. I wrote, "So, turns out we were middle school classmates." She was typing for a while, deleting, and then finally responded, "You don't mind, do you?" I replied, "What would I mind?" She responded, "Well then, can we hang out more often?" She followed up with, "I don't really have any friends around here." Over the next little while, Anna would randomly pop up in my messages. Eventually, she started helping us with video recording for our project. Her personality was interesting, lively, kind, and energetic. She could strike up a conversation with anyone, even elderly people in their 80s. As for my mom, she was even more enthusiastic. One time, when they met, she insisted on bringing Anna home for dinner. I was speechless and said, "You've changed. You're not the same as the first time I saw you." She didn't quite catch on at first. When she realized I was referring to her transformation from a quiet, pure girl into a lively, friendly girl next door, she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and said with a proud smile, "Because I think first impressions are important." I laughed and shook my head. I wasn't a complete fool. I understood what she meant, but I wasn't looking to start a new relationship. So, I directly told her my thoughts. That day, she came to me holding her orange tabby cat and said, "Look, this cat used to have no one to adopt it. Everyone thought orange cats eat too much and get fat too easily, so no one wanted to take it in. It was so pitiful, all alone." I nodded in agreement, moved by the sentiment. She continued, "So I took it in and even made sure it had the right food. It's such a small act, but it makes the cat so happy. Isn't that a good deed?" I couldn't find anything to say in response. It was as if some invisible force was keeping me from agreeing. She went on, "And I've been here for so many years with no friends. It's just me and the cat every day. Nothing but the cat. Doesn't that seem lonely? Shouldn't good people be rewarded?" I asked, "So, what are you asking?" She hesitated for a moment before saying, "So, can you be my first friend? Just consider it a good deed on your part." The world seemed to fall silent. The moonlight shone dimly on the girl in front of me. She was clearly nervous, almost as if every second of my hesitation was sealing her fate. I took the cat from her, looked at her, and typed into my phone, "Hello, new friend." Anna smiled. Chapter 7. I received a message from Willow 2 months later. She had a new phone and reached out to me. I had blocked her, but she kept changing numbers. One time, I accidentally picked up, but neither of us spoke. My patience was running out. I said, "Willow, can you stop bothering me?" Her voice was quiet when she replied, "Mom really misses you. When are you coming back to see her?" The mention of Lou's mom softened my heart a little. During this time, she had occasionally sent me money, probably worried about me losing my job and not having financial security. When I refused to accept it, she started sending me health recipes. I remembered how she had done the same thing when I first arrived at Lou's house, trying different ways to take care of me, cooking meals for me. When I was sick, it was Lou's mom who stayed up all night to look after me. I couldn't be cruel to her, so even though I hated Willow, I couldn't bring myself to be completely heartless. Seeing that I had softened a little, Willow seized the opportunity. "What if I come see you?" I interrupted her. "Aren't you back together with Makoto?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. I sneered. "Is this how you are with every boyfriend? Always thinking about your ex while with your current partner?" I sighed deeply. "Willow, don't you think you're pathetic?" After that night, Willow remained quiet for a long time. I thought our issues were over, but then I unexpectedly ran into Maria in this small, four-tiered city. Anna and I had just left the university town when we saw a figure holding a sun umbrella, walking towards us with an exaggerated, almost pretentious air. When that face appeared, my smile instantly disappeared. She asked, "Got a new girlfriend?" She snorted and said to Anna, "You know, he used to be really disgusting." Before she could finish, Anna slapped her hard across the face. Maria immediately raised her hand to retaliate, but I stepped in to block her. Someone nearby called the police. Since it was mutual fighting, we eventually signed a settlement agreement and left. Maria, holding her face, gave me a defiant eye roll. I walked up to her and directly blocked her path. "Are you sick?" She snorted. "Yeah, I'm sick. What about it?" She stepped closer, bit her lip lightly, and looked up at me. I quickly took a step back. She turned her head and said, "Willow and Makoto broke up. She still can't get over you. I thought you should know, so I came to tell you. You really don't get it, do you? You can't appreciate someone's good intentions." I stared at her with a blank expression. She frowned slightly, but I could barely detect it. I took Anna's hand, and she blinked in surprise when she realized what I was doing. She squeezed my hand in return. I just wanted to leave, not noticing Anna's red ears or Maria's pale face. "Hey," Maria called after me again, slowly speaking. "If you get back together with Willow, I promise I won't talk bad about you to her anymore," I replied. "You crazy woman, go take your meds." A few months passed before I finally sent Willow a message. I wrote, "Keep your dog on a leash." Chapter 8. Perhaps I was too angry. That night, I had a rare dream about high school. I was placed in the advanced class, where most students were high achievers, but I was always at the bottom. I was big and bulky, with dark skin and a chubby face, so there were many rumors about me. People mocked and ridiculed me everywhere. The class monitor once said, "Look at him. He's clearly a thug. I bet he's been in plenty of fights. He'll definitely end up at the bottom of society. Just a waste of national resources. A garbage machine." But one time, when I went to the bathroom, I caught the class monitor being cornered by a group of bullies, and they were making fun of him while pulling down his pants. When he saw me, he immediately gave me a pleading look. I hesitated for a moment, but sighed and walked over. In front of everyone, I said, "Please move aside. I need to use the restroom." I wasn't a saint. I had already informed the school security, and that was all I could do. To my surprise, later on, the class monitor turned on me and told the teacher that I was the leader of the bullies who humiliated him. I was speechless. I didn't hate the people who hurt him, but I couldn't understand why he blamed me for not saving him, as he added fuel to the fire and made it sound like I was the one who orchestrated everything. The headmaster was about to give in. Just then, Willow and the security guard showed up in the office. She spoke with such precision, demanding that he provide evidence it was me, and then had the security guard restore the events. She even calmly argued with the headmaster, saying, "You all owe George an apology. If the school dares to suspend George, we'll report this to the authorities and make sure no one gets away with it." She flicked her ponytail and grabbed my hand with a flourish, pulling me out of the office. As I watched her lively ponytail bounce, the sunlight that day seemed to carry a faint scent of fresh grass. It was a feeling of infatuation that came completely unexpectedly. When I woke up, I felt a wave of heat rushing through my chest. It was only 2 a.m. I got up and poured myself a glass of water, and just as I was about to sit back down, I heard a noise outside my door. I opened the door to find Willow standing there, looking exhausted, leaning against the wall. The cold wind had tousled her hair, and her face was pale. She looked like she had lost weight. When she saw me, her unfocused gaze gradually cleared, but the next second, the door shut. I lay back in bed, and my phone buzzed with a new message from her. She wrote, "I'm sorry about Maria. I've fallen out with her, and she won't bother you again." After a pause, she added, "I broke up with Makoto." Chapter 9. Willow settled in South City for a short time. Every time I went downstairs, she was waiting outside. When I came back at night, she was still standing there. I ignored her. My parents ignored her too. My dad said, "People should have self-respect, but you can't stop a dog from wanting to guard the house." My mom replied, "It's not even her house." During this time, the media work I had been doing started to show some results, and I could gradually pick up small ads. David and I were working harder than ever. We almost stretched a day into 2. I was running around in a frenzy, racking my brain for new ideas. But as the saying goes, when happiness peaks, disaster follows. I didn't see the road clearly and was grazed by a car. David supported me and asked, "Are you okay?" Anna had already darted off like the wind. She came back, holding a big bag of medicine, and David teased her about it. Her breath still hadn't settled, but her sparkling eyes were on me. "Is it okay?" I frowned and asked. "What?" she said. "Let me bandage it for you." In the end, I didn't let Anna help. I found a chair nearby and treated the wound myself. Filming ended earlier than expected, and Anna insisted on driving me home. I handed her the keys, but she drove like a turtle, constantly looking around as if she didn't know how to drive. What usually took half an hour stretched into an hour and a half. When we finally arrived home, she naturally hooked her arm around mine to support me, but the next moment, as I took a step, I froze. Willow was leaning against the wall, staring directly at me. Her face was pale, and her mouth was moving. She took a step toward me. Anna noticed something was off and looked down at me, asking softly, Is that the person you don't like? I replied. Yes. I ignored her and walked past. But Willow grabbed the corner of my shirt. My gaze turned cold as I looked at her. She snapped back to her senses and let go of my shirt. She looked down at my foot and asked, "Have you put on the medicine?" I responded with nothing but silence. The door shut in her face once again, like all the countless times before. No response. After closing the door, the sound of sizzling in the kitchen came from the other room. My mom's eyes lit up when she saw Anna. She said, "Anna, stay for dinner." Anna hesitated and glanced at me. I nodded and said, "Don't be shy. It's rare for my mom to be so enthusiastic. You'll have to eat a lot." She smiled happily, a hint of dimples at the corners of her mouth. I asked her, "Aren't you curious who she is?" She said, "I guessed, but it's not important." She leaned in closer and whispered, "If you don't like her, then she's not important." After dinner, it was already 9 o'clock. The moon had risen. I saw her off downstairs. As soon as I opened the door, my mom's smile faded. She said, "It's a bit scary, standing here so late." Anna looked at Willow and gave a knowing smile, saying, "Goodbye, Mrs. Liu." After sending her out, I reminded Anna to call me when she got home. But then, Anna pressed close to me and said, looking pitiful, "Can I have a hug? Like just a normal friend's hug?" I nodded and gave her a gentle hug, but in the next moment, Anna was pulled away. Willow yanked her, raising her hand as if to slap her. I gritted my teeth and shouted, "Willow!" She froze. Her eyes reddened. I couldn't understand the look on her face. She had wanted to break up with me, but now, she was acting like this. Anna hid behind me, saying, "George, she's really scary." Willow, not giving up, asked, "Who is she?" "Your girlfriend." I put a hand on my forehead and said, "Willow, we've broken up." She replied, "I know." Her voice faltered, and tears streamed down her face. She sobbed, her words coming out in a messy, broken way. "But I regret it. I regret it, George," I responded. "But I don't regret it." I rejected her bluntly, saying, "I don't regret breaking up with you, and I won't regret leaving North City. So no, I won't be turning back. Whether or not I have a girlfriend, whether it's her or someone else, who I marry in the future, none of that has anything to do with you, because that person will never be you." The sword of Damocles fell completely. The hope in her eyes vanished entirely. That night, Willow didn't stay downstairs. Months later, one night, I received a message from Willow. It had been 2 months since we last met. She asked, "Can we meet? Just to say goodbye." This time, I replied, "Okay." Outside the window, it began to snow lightly, the world draped in silver. Before I knew it, this year seemed to be coming to an end. It was an end, and yet, a beginning. Chapter 10. I arranged to meet Willow at a nearby cafe. Thick snow covered the ground, and the sanitation workers were already out early. When I stepped outside, the only marks left on the road were the tire tracks. The snow on the sidewalk hadn't been fully cleared, and the top layer had turned to ice. I kicked it lightly, and what looked like hard snow quickly scattered. I couldn't help but chuckle, but the smile quickly froze as I saw Willow standing not far away, her gaze fixed on me. For a brief moment, it felt like I was back in high school. Winter snow, my favorite thing was building snowballs and then kicking them away. Willow opened the window and called out, "Mom says come upstairs for dinner." "Okay," I smiled back, then turned and ran back into the house. When I walked over to her, Willow sighed softly in my ear. I thought we were really back in the past. She gave a bitter smile and said, "But this time, it's for goodbye." We sat at opposite ends of the table. I ordered a cup of coffee, glanced at the time, and said, "I only have an hour." She sat down and said, "I'm sorry about the diary." I replied, "I don't mind that." She hesitated, twirling her fingers nervously. If it weren't for the diary, I interrupted her. "There's no if. Even without the diary, we would never have worked." She pursed her lips and said, "I've always had a question. After all those years together, why didn't you even give me a chance?" I suppressed the frustration rising in me and asked, "Then let me ask you, why did you get together with me in the first place?" She didn't answer. I spoke for her. To repay a debt. I summarized the absurdity of the situation. I slowly smiled and said, "What gave you the right to think that your feelings for me were some kind of gift, just because you liked me, because you thought I was a simp?" But the truth is, not long after confessing to you, I had already moved on. The reason I saved you back then was because of our connection. If it had been anyone else, I would have done the same. If you hadn't given me hope later on, I would have moved on quickly and started a new life. I treated you well because I thought you deserved it. That's why I treated you well. I lowered my head and stirred my coffee, unable to stop myself from smiling. I said, "Willow, love may be beautiful, but it hasn't yet become big enough to ruin someone's life. Even without you, I would still be living my life well. What I care about is that you had so many chances to tell me you didn't love me, but instead, you chose the worst possible way to tie us together. You wasted 7 years of your life. You wasted mine too." Willow suddenly stood up, her eyes full of panic, trying to explain but not knowing where to start. She closed her eyes, her tear-filled eyes looking down. No, it's me. It's my fault, I asked. Did you never realize your own feelings? When she nodded, I smiled even more. I said, my dad once said something, he said. Don't let people you dislike anger you. You only need to care about the people who are worth your attention. That's why I didn't say anything about Maria. First, I didn't care about her opinion or what she thought. Second, I didn't want you to be unhappy. That's what liking someone is about. Liking someone is very obvious, very clear. I liked you, so I wanted to treat you well. But what about your feelings? I asked her again. Willow didn't answer. I sighed and said, if I hadn't found that diary, and we got married, you'd still feel dissatisfied. You'd feel like you were forced into this by moral obligations. Our marriage would still be unhappy. It seems you still haven't realized this. Our breakup wasn't because of the diary, nor because of Maria. It was because of your delusional tolerance, which was actually arrogance. You looked down on me, but I'm not completely blameless either. In her anxious, uneasy gaze, I spoke softly. My mistake was not cutting things off sooner. When you allowed your friend to treat me the way she did, I should have realized that our relationship was over. Today is the last time I'll meet you, Willow. For Mrs. Liu's sake, I put on my coat, and she hurriedly stood up. I said, let's not meet again, Willow. Without looking back, I turned and walked out. As I pushed the door open, my phone rang just in time. It was David, urging, is it done? The dinner is waiting for you. If you don't come soon, someone will fly out to look for you. I curved my lips into a small smile and replied, coming right now. Chapter 11. In March, I received a request from a young boy. In the season where the warmth of spring is just beginning but winter still lingers, he was wearing a thin school uniform. His left eye looked strange, almost like he had lost his vision. He stopped us in the middle of the street and said, big brother, can you make friends here? I want to make friends. The boy's name was Xiang Nguan. His parents had died in a car accident when he was young, and he had been raised by his grandmother. His grandmother often scolded him, calling him a door to misfortune, neglecting him and treating his left eye as a bad omen. His classmates bullied him as well. He said, no one likes me. Because of this request, we began looking in elementary schools everywhere. Finally, we found a girl at Lin E Elementary. She had a sweet smile, like a little sun. When we brought her over, she was skipping and hopping along. Her parents walked behind her, laughing helplessly. This child has been spoiled since she was little. As if worried we might misunderstand, she added, but she's not a bad child. Yes, not bad at all. Whether she was lively or quiet, wasn't that just who she was? The two children met, and within less than 15 minutes, they were already playing together. The girl lowered her head and seriously said, your eyes aren't ugly at all. It's just that they have no taste. From today on, I'm your friend. I spoke up too. Me too, David added. I am too. The girl's mother squatted down and patted the boy's head, saying, my house isn't far from yours. If you miss her, just come over. I'll make you something delicious. As we were leaving, I told the boy, don't care too much about what people who don't like you say. Their words aren't important. What matters is that you know who you are. The boy was confused, so I smiled and patted his shoulder, saying, Martin, you're a really great person. I didn't post the video immediately because I told David I still had some extra content to record. That evening, while editing the video at home, Anna called, George, come downstairs. It had been almost a week since we last saw each other. During this time, she had started a new job and had to travel abroad for business. When I went downstairs, she was dragging a large suitcase up the stairs. Seeing me, she waved. I hurried to take the suitcase from her. She smiled and said, these are all your favorite snacks from middle school, sent by your ordinary friend. I couldn't help but laugh. Since I started dieting, I hadn't had any of these snacks. It felt strangely nostalgic. Our relationship never really progressed further. Later, one day, I asked, Anna, did you know me back then? She leaned closer to me and said, I didn't understand those things back then. I just really wanted to be friends with you. But you transferred schools not long after, and I was so sad. Back then, Anna was small and self-conscious, always walking with her head down. George, on the other hand, always had a defiant attitude, walking with his chest out, always ready to counter any unwarranted malice directed at him. At that age, Anna thought, I really want to be friends with George, but for all those years, she never dared to say a word to him. On the day she learned he was transferring schools, Anna stayed at home and cried. Anna never told George that when she was 23, they briefly crossed paths due to business at the company, but he didn't recognize her. She recognized him, though. Later, Anna returned to her hometown and heard that George was back. The first thing she did was to take the initiative. She wanted so badly to be friends with George. After really getting to know him, the fog that had once surrounded him cleared. She saw a more authentic person. Her feelings for him grew little by little, accumulating over time. The seed planted in middle school had now taken root and blossomed after many years. George was a bit shocked when he heard this, and said, I never imagined anyone would want to be friends with me back then. Anna tilted her chin and looked at him, saying, "You shine on your own. Like-minded people will always be drawn to you." She thanked fate for bringing them back together after all these years. Epilogue. After parting ways with George at the cafe, Willow never messaged him again. The years of affection between them had turned into something like this, and every time she thought about it, her heart ached with pain. But the one responsible for all of this was also her. After Maria made a scene at his place, they had a big fight. She couldn't understand why Maria kept humiliating George. It wasn't until Maria repeatedly said, "Then why don't you go get George back? What's so great about Nan City that he has to stay there?" that Willow began to sense something different in her twisted words. She asked, "Do you like George?" Maria, with her habitual eye roll, replied, "How could I like that guy who acts all cold and aloof?" Willow said, "You do like him." Maria stopped pretending, and in an act of giving up, she said, "So what if I do? Why does he always look at me like I'm garbage? If he were even a little bit nice to me, I wouldn't treat him like that." Upon hearing this, Willow was shocked, but even more so, she felt regret. She had a friend who was always thinking about her boyfriend. Willow bit her lip and said, "But he hates you," Maria retorted. "Doesn't he hate you?" Willow answered, "I'm different from you. I have feelings for him," Maria responded. "But to George, it's all the same." Willow didn't pay much attention to Maria's words. She went to George's hometown, waiting like someone obsessed, lingering under his building. She wanted to tell George that she liked him. She had broken up with Makoto, and she didn't love him at all anymore. Could they start over? But George didn't give her that chance. Just as Maria had said, George hated her too. After George left, she sat in the cafe for a long time. When she stepped out, for a moment, she felt lost and directionless. She didn't know where to go. She and George had no home. No direction could lead her to the place that once was their home. She forced herself to stop thinking about him, throwing herself into work, but the exhaustion soon landed her in the hospital. In the hospital room, she opened George's account. There was a new video posted by him. One of the videos had a special message. It was addressed to a brave boy. "Hello, what are you doing right now? Are you buried in textbooks, or rushing through the busy streets of the city? Are you a student or a father? Are you doing well? Are you happy? Whatever your role, I still want to tell you today, you are amazing. I used to practice weightlifting, with a strong body and an appearance that the world didn't find attractive. I heard people gossip about me and degrade me, but none of that defined me. As a teenager, I always wanted to stand tall. I thought, what do they know? I could gain weight for training and practice day after day. Of course, I would be proud of the person I became. Likewise, I hope that you, the person watching this, are proud of yourself. After university, I worked in a big company in marketing. I struggled with the decision to quit, but eventually, I chose to leave. I returned to my hometown and decided to take it easy for a while. I am lucky. And it was during this time that I suddenly realized that life's margin for error is much larger than I imagined. When you realize you've taken the wrong path, it's okay to turn around. Rather than stubbornly walking into a dead end, making a new choice is more important. Of course, it's also okay if you don't turn around, because maybe the next moment will bring a pleasant surprise. Brave boy, I hope you are proud of yourself. I hope you learn to love yourself, just like I do. I'm very satisfied with who I am. Willow watched the video over and over again, almost as if torturing herself. The pain in her heart became clearer and sharper. She remembered the cold, indifferent gaze George had given her that day. That night, she dreamed. In the dream, it was snowing, and the boy was making a snowball. She ran over and threw herself into his arms. "George," she whispered. The boy lowered his head, his eyes bright and warm. Willow said, "Goodbye." In the dream, Willow said her final farewell to George. In the dream, it was the most beautiful season of life, but in reality, many years had passed, and everything had changed. It turned out that long ago, she should have said goodbye with dignity. She understood too late. She had let down both her and George's youth.